Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour. The Kremlin says trade and energy to figure in talks between President Putin and Prime Minister Modi. US President Trump's special envoy and son-in-law in Moscow for talks with President Putin. Pakistani leader Imran Khan is fine, says sister, after meeting him in jail as party cadres protest outside. And the lower house of India's parliament, Lok Sabha, to take up debate on Vande Mataram and electoral reforms next week. Preparations are on for Russian President Vladimir Putin's two-day visit to India beginning Thursday. The Kremlin spokesperson says trade would figure high on the agenda of the 23rd India-Russia annual summit. Akhilesh Suman reports from New Delhi.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Tuesday said that during his upcoming visit to India, Russian President Vladimir Putin will discuss both bilateral and international issues with Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
India for us is a great partner, and we do hope that the visit of President Putin will be successful. As successful was the visit of Prime Minister Modi 1 year ago to Moscow. President and Prime Minister had a very, very good possibility to spend lots of hours together discussing the most sensitive issues of the global and regional agenda. We hope that this will be the case for New Delhi meeting the day after tomorrow.
Addressing a virtual press conference organized by Sputnik News, Peskov said there's vast potential for cooperation between India and Russia, ranging from small nuclear reactors and military equipment to various goods and services. Peskov reiterated that sanctions imposed on Russia by the US and the EU are illegal, as they have not been authorized by the United Nations. Peskov also said that Putin will also share a first-hand assessment of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict and the efforts to resolve it.
We do appreciate the position and the stand of India vis-à-vis Ukrainian settlement and Ukrainian affair. We do appreciate the readiness of New Delhi to contribute to a search of peaceful solution in this very complicated conflict. And we do respect the position of Prime Minister Modi, and we do respect the possibility of exchanging information from the first hands between himself and our president, and we hope that this practice will continue.
Business leaders from both the countries will meet in Delhi to explore deeper business-to-business partnerships which could help narrow the trade imbalance which currently favors Russia. Akhilesh Suman's report, DD India.
Now, India and Russia share a 78-year legacy of stable, time-tested partnership. The bond between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin reflects the depth of this strategic partnership, strengthened further through annual summits and the 2+2 dialogue. Their regular high-level engagement continues to drive cooperation across political, defense, economic and technological domains. In the next report, Muhammad Absarul Hassan explores new dimensions of India-Russia relations.
Russia has been a long-standing and time-tested partner for India. Under the strategic partnership, several institutionalized dialogue mechanisms operate at both political and official levels to ensure regular interaction and follow-up on cooperation activities. The bilateral relationship has remained strong and stable over the past 78 years. In December 2021, a new dimension to the bilateral cooperation was added with the first 2+2 dialogue. Meetings of foreign and defense ministers of both countries started taking place alongside the summit-level talks between Prime Minister Modi and President of Russia, Vladimir Putin. So far, 22 annual summits have taken place alternatively in India and Russia. The last summit was held on July 8 and 9, 2024 in Moscow, and President Putin is set to visit India for the 23rd summit in New Delhi. Bilateral trade between India and Russia reached a record high of $68.7 billion in FY 2024-25. India's exports to Russia, $4.9 billion. India's imports from Russia, $63.8 billion. Major items of export from India include pharmaceuticals, organic and inorganic chemicals, iron and steel, and marine products. Major items of import from Russia include oil and petroleum products, vegetable oil, particularly sunflower oil, fertilizers, coking coal, precious stones, and metals. The primary mechanism at the government level for enhancing trade and economic cooperation is the India Russia Intergovernmental Commission for Trade, Economic, Scientific, and Cultural Cooperation. Intensifying the trade and economic relations has been identified as a priority area by both the leaders, who had set the targets of increasing bilateral investment to $50 billion by 2025 and bilateral trade to $100 billion by 2030. India has long standing and wide ranging cooperation with Russia in the field of defense. India Russia military technical cooperation has evolved from a buyer seller framework to one involving joint research, development, and production of advanced defense technologies and systems. RM and Russian Defense Minister co chaired the India Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military and Military Technical Cooperation. IST was commissioned into Indian Navy in the presence of RM at the Yantar shipyard in Kaliningrad on 9th of December 2024. On 28 March to 2nd of April 2025, the bilateral naval exercise Indra 2025 between Indian and Russian navies was conducted in two phases: harbor phase at Chennai and sea phase in Bay of Bengal. Science and technology has played a key role in the bilateral India-Russia partnership, especially in the early days after India's independence. India and Russia work together on basic sciences, material science, mathematics, and cutting edge areas like India's manned spaceflight program Gaganyaan, nanotechnologies, etc. India's only nuclear power plant established with another country is in Kundankulam in Tamil Nadu, which is established in collaboration with Russia. The bilateral cooperation is guided by the new roadmap for science, technology, and innovation signed during the 21st Annual Summit in New Delhi in December 2021. In 2024, Prime Minister Modi was conferred upon Russia's highest state decoration, the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle, the first called, for Prime Minister's outstanding contribution to India-Russia ties. Apart from arms and trade, cultural ties from Russia's love for Indian movies to scholarship programs and tourism have helped the two nations to maintain strong relations despite ups and downs. Around 63,000 people of Indian origin live in Russia. Mohammad Absarul Hassan reports for DT India.
India launched Operation Sindoor in retaliation for the April 2025 Pahalgam terrorist attack, targeting terrorist infrastructure sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Within a short time, many terrorists and their hideouts across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir were neutralized. The message was clear: India acts swiftly and precisely when required. Dheeraj Das has more.
India acts swiftly and precisely when required. Operation Sindoor, launched after terrorist attack at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir, is a shining example of that resolve. Many terrorists and their hideouts across Pakistan and Pak-occupied Jammu and Kashmir were neutralized. India's Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, who was in Indian state of Gujarat, lauded the courage and dedication of the Indian armed forces displayed during Operation Sindoor.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर में हमारे सेना के जवानों ने जिस शौर्य और पराक्रम का परिचय दिया है, उसकी चर्चा केवल भारत की धरती पर ही नहीं होती है, बल्कि दुनिया के दूसरे देशों में भी होती है। हमने यह साफ संदेश दे दिया है, भारत एक शांति प्रिय देश है। भारत किसी को छेड़ता नहीं है, लेकिन भारत को यदि कोई छेड़ता है तो भारत उसे छोड़ता नहीं है। मेरे बहनों भाइयों, यह भी संदेश दे दिया है।
The defense minister also said that Operation Sindoor is proof that India gives a befitting reply to those who do not understand the language of peace and goodwill.
हमने दुनिया को बतला दिया है, शांति और सद्भावना की भाषा नहीं समझने वालों को हम माकूल जवाब देने की क्षमता रखते हैं, यह संदेश भी हमने विश्व को दे दिया।
As India is gearing up to celebrate its Navy Day on 4th December, the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi, highlighted the strategic role played by the Indian Navy, including the deployment of a carrier battle group in the northern Arabian Sea, which influenced Pakistan's naval movements.
Operation Sindoor. It is an operation which still remains in progress, and therefore much of operational details cannot be put out in the open domain for obvious reasons. The aggressive posturing and the immediate actions which we took, including the deployment of carrier battle group in the northern Arabian Sea, forced the Pakistan Navy to remain either in their ports or airports or close to Makran coast, and they never ventured out.
Operation Sindoor showcased the strength and technological prowess of the Indian Armed Forces. The Made in India air defense systems and BrahMos missiles performed brilliantly, while indigenous drones and AI-based systems demonstrated unmatched capability. The destruction of Pakistan's air defense systems and key strategic installations stood as a testament to India's growing military strength. Dheeraj Das's report for DD India.
Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju says that the Lok Sabha will take up a debate on the 150th anniversary of the national song Vande Mataram on Monday and electoral reforms on Tuesday next week. The decision was taken at an all-party meeting and a Business Advisory Committee meeting chaired by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. The discussion on Vande Mataram will be held from Monday noon and the discussion on electoral reform from Tuesday noon. Prime Minister Modi will initiate the debate on 150 years of Vande Mataram. Minister Rijiju says that 10 hours each have been allotted to both the debates, adding that the duration could be extended if the House deems it fit.
I'm happy that the all-party floor leaders meeting called by Honorable Speaker was very fruitful, and we all agreed that there will be a special discussion on 150th anniversary of national song Vande Mataram on Monday. The discussion will start at 12 noon and the discussion will go on for the full day.
Meanwhile, both houses of Parliament adjourned to meet again on Wednesday. Before the adjournment, Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary moved the Manipur Goods and Services Tax Second Amendment Bill 2025 in the Rajya Sabha, that's the upper house, for consideration and passing. Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha returned the Manipur Goods and Services Tax Bill to the Lok Sabha or lower house after discussion. While replying to the discussion, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that this amendment is very important.
This particular amendment is very important, sir, because it does two things. The very important reform-based steps that we have taken in GST, like track and trace system. Once you do the track and trace system, which is a very big step in administering the GST, you are able to prevent leakages. And therefore, that was one of the things which was passed in the Finance Act of 25. Now we are making it into a bill for Manipur.
India's solar journey is powering the country's emergence as a global clean energy leader. As a founding member and host of the International Solar Alliance's headquarters in Gurugram, India has championed solar energy deployment, finance and technology transfer across more than 125 member states. In October, India hosted the 8th Assembly of the Alliance in New Delhi, bringing together ministers and delegates worldwide to advance strategies for resilient solar value chains, inclusive access and accelerated adoption of solar energy. The solar sector has expanded at an unprecedented pace over the past decade, growing from just 3 gigawatts in 2014 to 129.92 gigawatts by October 2025, a remarkable over 40-fold increase. This rapid growth has made solar the largest contributor to the renewable energy portfolio, surpassing wind, hydro and biomass capacities. The surge in solar capacity is driving a steady increase in the share of renewable energy in the overall power mix. These achievements underscore India's commitment to a low-carbon energy transition and highlight the pivotal role of solar energy in building a resilient, sustainable and secure electricity system. Still to come on DD India News Hour. US President Trump discusses Venezuela's strategy with his national security team. And Canada joins key EU defense program as Prime Minister Carney pivots away from the US.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Intense diplomacy is underway as the US pushes for a path to end the war in Ukraine. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and US President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are holding key talks in Moscow. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Russia claimed full control of Pokrovsk, while Ukraine said that fighting is still raging in the region.
A major diplomatic push is underway to end the war between Ukraine and Russia, even as fighting continues. US Special Representative Steve Witkoff, accompanied by Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, was in Moscow to meet Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday. The meeting comes after Washington expressed renewed confidence in its peace plan following talks with Ukrainian negotiators in Florida. Earlier, Russian presidential envoy Kirill Dmitriev met with Witkoff to discuss the path forward. A leaked set of 28 US draft peace proposals sparked concern in Ukraine and across Europe, where officials said the plan leaned toward Russia's demands on NATO, territorial control, and limits on Ukraine's military. Responding to progress, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said US and Ukrainian negotiators have refined a framework peace agreement, adding that Ukraine wants its European partners more involved in the process.
Now I'm going to receive more detailed information from you regarding the plans, regarding all points.
NATO chief Mark Rutte expressed confidence that US efforts to end the Ukraine war could bring peace.
We all recognize that our security is deeply linked, and we are all working to bring the war against Ukraine to an end with a just and lasting peace. We welcome the ongoing efforts led by the United States to make this a reality, and I'm confident that these sustained efforts will eventually restore peace in Europe.
On the battlefield, Ukraine says fighting continues in Pokrovsk, while Russia claimed full control of the key Donetsk logistics hub. Putin pressed what commanders described as the city's capture, but Ukraine insists it still holds the northern part. Before and after images show extensive destruction across the city.
I will come back to this later, but I already want to thank you now for the results of the work in Krasnoyarsk, to thank you, the entire command staff, the group's personnel, and of course, the fighters, our guys who are carrying out these combat missions.
However, Ukraine says Russian troops who raised a flag in the city center were pushed back. For now, negotiations move forward in the conflict, even as the battle on the ground shows no sign of slowing. Ravindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
And US President Donald Trump convened his top national security officials to discuss about his maximum pressure campaign against Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and the next steps in the campaign following a series of military and diplomatic escalations. The meeting took place immediately after President Trump's phone call with President Maduro.
US President Donald Trump held talks on Monday with top advisors to discuss the pressure campaign on Venezuela. Earlier on Sunday, Trump confirmed that he had spoken to Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro but declined to provide details of the conversation. Reuters, quoting sources, has reported that during the short call made on November 21st, the US President refused a series of requests from Maduro, including full legal amnesty for him and his family and removal of all US sanctions. Venezuelan leader is running out of options after the US guaranteed safe passage expired on Friday, prompting Trump to declare on Saturday that Venezuela's airspace was closed.
We consider Venezuela to be not a very friendly country. They sent millions of people, really, and probably a number in excess of that. And a lot of those people shouldn't be in our country, from jails, from gangs, from drug dealers, from all of the people that came into our country shouldn't have been in our country, causing a lot of problems, and drugs.
U.S. military activity continued in the Caribbean on Monday, with Marine Corps aircraft delivering supplies at Mercedita International Airport in Ponce, Puerto Rico. Meanwhile, U.S. also confirmed that Navy Admiral acting under the authority of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a double-tap military operations that targeted survivor of an initial attack on an alleged drug smuggling boat. Many Democrats have called it passing the buck to insulate Hegseth.
President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated.
The strikes have raised questions in the international fora, and even the UN Secretary General remains gravely concerned about them.
The Secretary General remains gravely concerned about the strikes on vessels allegedly involved in drug trafficking in the region. These strikes may violate international human rights law and called for investigations that are transparent into these attacks.
Venezuela's President Maduro held a rally on Monday, rejecting the pressure and stating Venezuela does not want a slave's peace, vowing absolute loyalty to the Venezuelan people. With agency inputs, Anamika Pandey's report for DD India.
And amid mounting tensions, President Maduro has said that he swears absolute loyalty to the Venezuelan people. Maduro, ringed by other top officials, spoke to a crowd outside the presidential palace after the government called a march to swear in new local party leaders for the ruling PSUV party. President Maduro was accompanied by his wife and the country's interior minister. The minister was wearing a red baseball cap embroidered with "Doubt is betrayal." Tensions between the two countries, including U.S. strikes against alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean, repeated threats by President Trump to extend military operations to land, and the designation of Cartel de los Sols as a foreign terrorist organization, a group the Trump government says includes President Maduro, have been escalating for months. President Maduro denies any criminal activity. Meanwhile, in a new development, President Maduro approved a migrant repatriation flight from the U.S. An Eastern Airlines flight flying from Phoenix in the U.S. has been authorized to land near Venezuela's capital, Caracas. India's Operation Sagar Bandhu continues to assist cyclone-hit Sri Lanka, reeling under devastating floods, destruction, loss of lives and massive landslides. The Disaster Management Center has confirmed that the death toll has reached 465, while 366 remain missing and over 1.55 million people affected across all 25 districts, with Kandy recording the highest toll. Amid continuing floods and landslides, Indian Air Force helicopter IFC-1875 delivered 2,000 kilograms of relief to Mandaram, Nuvara and evacuated 17 people, including a heart patient from Irunguvattu. A second sortie moved 24 passengers, among them a pregnant woman, 5 children and foreign nationals from Kotamale to Colombo. India's High Commissioner Santosh Jha reviewed the NDRF operations at Sedavath, where teams are going door-to-door in inundated Nadigama along the Kelani River. The Ministry of External Affairs on Tuesday slammed Pakistan's claims that its request for using Indian airspace to ferry humanitarian aid to cyclone-hit Sri Lanka was denied. It dismissed Islamabad's claims as ridiculous. The ministry said that this is Pakistan's yet another attempt of spreading anti-India misinformation. While calling the claims made by the Pakistan Foreign Ministry baseless, the ministry said that the request had been processed expeditiously. It clarified that the request for overflight clearance of the Pakistani aircraft carrying humanitarian assistance to Sri Lanka was received by the Indian High Commission in Islamabad at 1 p.m. on Monday. Given the urgency of humanitarian assistance, the Indian government processed the request expeditiously the same day. The ministry reaffirmed that India remains committed to supporting Sri Lanka in these challenging times. Pakistani leader Imran Khan is fine but mentally tortured, says sister, after meeting him in jail as party cadres protest outside. The next report examines what happened through the day in politically volatile Pakistan.
The workers of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party staged protests outside the Islamabad High Court and reached the Adiala jail in Rawalpindi. Amid ongoing protest, Imran Khan's sister was allowed to meet him in Adiala jail. Imran Khan's sister Uzma Khanum said former Pakistan Prime Minister's health is fine, but he is being mentally tortured. The family and party members had been denied meetings for several weeks despite an earlier Islamabad High Court order permitting twice weekly visits. Authorities have enforced Section 144 in Islamabad and Rawalpindi as rumours about Imran Khan's health continued to circulate. However, Adiala jail officials have rejected all rumours and said he has not been moved from the prison. Jail authorities called the health-related rumours baseless. The conflict grew last week when the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa chief minister staged a sit-in outside Adiala jail. Imran Khan has been in prison since August 2023. He faces multiple corruption and terrorism cases after his ouster through a no-trust vote in 2022. Bureau Report, DD India.
Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney announced the conclusion of negotiations for Canada's participation in the European Union's Security Action for Europe, also known as SAFE. The Canadian Prime Minister's official website said that Canada and the European Union will work to swiftly ratify the bilateral SAFE agreement with the goal to officially launch Canada's participation. With this agreement, Canada will become the only country outside of Europe with preferential access. Prime Minister Carney said that Canadian participation will give the country's defence industry expanded access to the European market, attract new reliable suppliers for the Canadian Armed Forces, and catalyze massive private investment in Canada. Still to come on DD India News Hour. An expert take on what to expect from President Vladimir Putin's visit to India this week.
So our episode is on accountability more than just an apology text.
Yep.
We didn't get one, did we?
If no British politician has the courage to issue an apology, get somebody from the royal family to do it, because after all, everything was done in the name of the crown. No one likes to be told that in their family tree there are a lot of skeletons. They have never allowed themselves to confront the horrors of their past, so I'm sorry to say we never got the apology. There is not just amnesia on the part of the British, the colonizers, but there is some forgetfulness or ignorance on the part of the rest of us too.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. The Kremlin says trade and energy to figure in talks between President Putin and Prime Minister Modi. US President Trump's special envoy and son-in-law in Moscow for talks with President Putin. Pakistani leader Imran Khan is fined, says sister after meeting him in jail as party cadres protest outside. And the lower house of India's parliament, the Lok Sabha, to take up debate on Vande Mataram and electoral reforms next week. So all eyes on the much anticipated India-Russia summit this week. And joining us for more is Ambassador Shashank. He is a former Foreign Secretary of India. Ambassador, welcome to DD India News Hour. I have a long list of issues to ask of you, including defense, trade, energy, space, and so on. But I want to begin by talking about the India-Russia Special and Privileged Strategic Partnership, which turns 25. It was in October 2000 that President Putin and then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee signed the Declaration on Strategic Partnership, which opened a new chapter in bilateral relations. How do you look at this 25-year journey? How would you describe it, and how has it benefited both countries?
Well, India and Russia have been trusted friends of each other for a fairly long time. And I think when in 2000 this relationship was further strengthened, it was seen as that not just a buyer-seller relationship, but also co-production, joint research, all kinds of activities whereby the two countries could work at both people-to-people level and at all different levels to promote the relations. Because till that time we found that it was mostly based on defense-related items, which were very easily supplied by the Russians, including the technologies, whereas India was finding it very difficult to get any defense-related technology from other countries. So then it was decided that we should further strengthen this relationship. And so we had set up city-to-city partnerships. We had set up the idea that we should really go for an annual kind of summit between our two countries so that relationship could be then reviewed at the highest level. And we have been meeting at different other levels also on all science and technology, on energy-related matters and minerals, etc. So I think this is really a relationship which has matured over a period of time. And what we have seen, especially when we have had an unstable neighborhood and promotion of terrorism from some of our neighboring countries, that Russia has come forward very strongly in transferring technology and armaments to India, which has been very useful. You remember your Operation Sindoor recently, that where S-400s played a very important part in India's telling the Pakistanis how to behave and to make sure that their nuclear blackmail does not cut any ice.
Indeed.
So I think that this is something very important where Russia has helped India very much. And the Indian people value this relationship. And at a time when we are finding that the West is trying to bring an end to the Russia-Ukraine war, and they are carrying on various kinds of dialogues, but at the same time they're putting all pressures on India, thinking that if India can be pressurized by additional tariffs, and we find that USA is even telling the European Union countries and UK that they should put 100% tariff on India.
Right.
I think so therefore, this is important that we have to bring about peace in Europe, but at the same time take care of our own interests and our relationship between Russia and India has to be somehow shielded from this kind of difficulties.
Ambassador, you covered a lot of ground there. So let me, since you referred to defense and defense technology, let me start with defense then. Can we expect progress on, say, for instance, India's interest in S-400 air defense systems? There's also talk about S-500 air defense system, the Sukhoi Su-57 fighter jet, and the R-37M missile. So can we expect progress on some of these items in the summit?
Well, there are a couple of issues which we need to take care of. Number one is that there is CATSA kind of
Indeed, and just for the benefit of viewers, Ambassador, you refer to CATSA. CATSA is the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act passed by the US. So would that also affect future India-Russia defense deals?
Well, so far as S-400s are concerned, a special dispensation was made.
Right.
And the Americans agreed that India could go ahead because we have a long-term relationship of defense purchases from Russia.
Indeed.
And we have to continue this relationship. We just cannot bring it to an end. So the Americans had agreed to it, and they realized that over a period of time, they would also bring about a better relationship of trust with India. Now, in this case, S-400, there is no difficulty. But as far as S-500 is concerned, I hope that we can carry on a dialogue with the Russians, and at the same time hope that the Ukraine-Russia trouble would come to an end, and the efforts which are being made by President Trump will come to fruition. I mean, what we are seeing is that now President Trump has given a very clear-cut message to Europe that they should now take care of this as a European issue. And America cannot be brought into this issue. They would very much like to bring about peace, including with Russia.
Indeed.
So I think these are the issues that on which we have to carry on a dialogue with the Russians, so that at least the issue of transfer of technology, upgradation of technology, etc., and Atmanirbharta campaign of India can be further supported by Russia. And then we just have to see how things develop internationally. Hopefully, we would be able to go for all S-500 as well as Su-57 and R-37 and other missiles.
Right.
They're important for India.
Indeed. Let's focus a bit, if you will, Ambassador, on economy now. How is trade and investment shaping up? How is the rupee-ruble trade coming along?
Well, Russia has been trying, because Russia is under sanctions. So they have been generally going in for de-dollarization kind of an approach by BRICS countries and by RIC countries. India has been opposed to this because India feels that we cannot go for de-dollarization, which will be seen as a hostile act by the Americans. But we would like to promote our national currencies being used in international trade. So India is supporting that part, which is that wherever we can carry on transactions in our own currency and other national currencies, there we can go ahead. So thereby, rupee-ruble trade, therefore, very much comes under that. We would prefer to have a direct trade. The Russians, of course, have been saying that either use the UAE currency or the Chinese currency. So we'll just have to wait and see how these things develop further, because the Americans have taken a very hostile attitude towards BRICS. And that is one of the reasons why highest tariffs have been put on India, Brazil, and South Africa. So we'll just have to see that we promote our national currencies. We also promote the rupee-ruble trade to such an extent that our trade can become more balanced. And we can also supply many more items to Russia.
And talking about economy, Ambassador, connectivity plays an important role in trade. What can you tell us about, for instance, the International North-South Transport Corridor or the Chennai-Vladivostok Maritime Corridor?
Well, these are very important initiatives which have been taken several years ago, and they need to be pursued further. This has been a pity, great pity, that a great country like India has been hobbled right from its very beginning by all the routes, international routes being blocked, on one side by Pakistan, on the other side by East Pakistan, and then Myanmar also having a non-democratic government. So I think many of the problems come from that side also. So now we have tried to develop the links via Iran, so through Chabahar port, through Bandar Abbas and others. So this north-south trade corridor could use both Bandar Abbas and the Chabahar port. Only thing is that there again we find that Iran has come under sanctions from the Western countries. And And we are hoping that there would be some kind of an agreement would be reached so that either India is allowed to buy more oil from countries like Iran, because if we are being told to cut down our oil imports from Russia, then we have to get it from other sources. We just cannot allow Indian economy to suffer under this thing. But I think, as you are saying, that these transport corridors are extremely important for us, and we have to continue building them. At least build whatever we can do, building the train network, building the software, the customs formalities and others can be worked out in the meantime. So as and when the international situation improves, we should be able to move very strongly on the North-South corridor, on the Chennai-Vladivostok corridor, and also at the same way, I hope that with the Myanmar also we have many links going up to Southeast Asia, we are able to develop them also.
Indeed. Ambassador, energy, oil and gas also plays an important role in the bilateral ties. Do you think by the end of the summit, both Moscow and New Delhi would have found a way around the US tariff on India's imports of Russian oil?
Well, I'm very hopeful of this because I really feel that this present meeting, which is taking place in Russia with the son-in-law of President Trump and Witkoff, would come to some kind of a successful conclusion. I have great trust in the intelligence and the commitment to peace by both President Trump and President Putin. And therefore, I'm hopeful that we would be able to reach agreements even to promote further our import of oil from Russia and other commodities, also fertilizers, etc. Because I think that is important for Indian economy. And I think we want to promote relations with USA and with Russia, with both of them. And therefore, India is trying to do its very best to bring about a better atmosphere between these two major powers. And we hope that this conflict in Europe will come to an end sooner than later.
Ambassador Shang, pleasure as always to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Right, moving on, the Defense Research and Development Organization has successfully conducted a high-speed rocket sled test of a fighter aircraft escape system at controlled velocity. The trial, held at the Terminal Ballistics Research Laboratory in Chandigarh, validated critical safety mechanisms including canopy severance, ejection sequencing and complete aircrew recovery. With this complex dynamic test, India joins an elite group of nations that possess advanced in-house capability for testing aircraft escape systems. A new complex housing the Prime Minister's office will now be called Seva Tirth, in line with the government's focus on citizen-first governance. It'll be a workplace designed to reflect the spirit of service and where national priorities are shaped. The Central Secretariat will now be known as Kartavya Bhavan. India's public institutions are undergoing a quiet but profound shift. The change in names reflects a shift in mindset that speaks the language of seva or service, kartavya or duty, and citizen-first governance. The idea of governance is moving from power to service and from authority to responsibility. This change is not just administrative, but rather cultural and moral. Still to come on DD India Newshour. The death toll from Indonesia's floods and landslides rises. And the 4th edition of Kashi Tamil Sangamam begins. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. The death toll from floods and landslides that have struck Sumatra Island in Indonesia since last week has risen to 712. The country's National Disaster Management Agency said on Tuesday that more than 500 people were missing and around 1.1 million affected by the flooding in 3 provinces on the island. The 4th edition of Kashi Tamil Sangamam has begun. It highlights a deep civilizational and cultural ties between Tamil Nadu and Varanasi, also known as Kashi. Centered on the theme of Let Us Learn Tamil Karkalam, this year's edition places Tamil language learning at its core. The initiative encourages people to understand and appreciate the richness of cultures beyond their own. Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting L. Murugan inaugurated an exhibition mounted by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry at the Kashi Tamil Sangamam in Varanasi. The minister said that the theme of Kashi Tamil Sangamam 4.0 carries forward the belief that all Indian languages belong to a shared family of Indian languages. The Indian Railways is operating 7 special trains between Kanyakumari, Chennai, Coimbatore and Varanasi to facilitate large-scale participation at the Kashi Tamil Sangamam. These special trains have been scheduled to ensure seamless travel, comfortable long-distance connectivity and timely arrivals for participants attending the multi-day cultural immersion program.
Kasi poets, what they are telling, it should be reached to Kanji. Now it's becoming true. Rameswara is the letter itself having Iswara, Rameswara. And Kasi means Siga, means Shiva. Now it's both are mingling and our Tamil people are very happy. Ayodhya, our dream come true. After a long time, we created history.
All the people are enjoy. If we, in the Purva Janma, we give some punya. This Janma we go to Kasi. If the God will, everything is done by God willing. If the God Vishwanatha, he will give a blessing to you, you will come there.
And now to all the news from the world of sport. After clinching a thrilling 17-run win in Ranchi, the KL Rahul-led Indian side now shifts focus to Raipur for the second one-day international against South Africa on Wednesday. With the hosts eyeing a series-clinching win, the Proteas will be determined to bounce back and restore momentum in this 3-match contest.
After pipping South Africa by 17 runs in a thriller in Ranchi during the first ODI, India will look to seal the 3-match ODI series when they take on the Proteas in the second ODI international in Raipur on Wednesday. Led by Virat Kohli's 52nd ODI turn, India posted 349 for 8 after being invited to bat first. Despite finding themselves in a commanding position, the hosts were pushed hard by South Africa's spirited lower order before eventually restricting the visitors to 332. After resting for the first ODI, South Africa regular skipper Temba Bavuma and Keshav Maharaj are expected to return for the crucial second game. The Ranchi fixture also marked the strong return of the famed Rocco duo. While Kohli anchored the innings with a majestic turn, Rohit Sharma contributed a solid 57 runs. The match additionally set a new milestone. The pair have now featured in 392 international matches together, surpassing the long-standing record of Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid. Babuma feels facing an Indian side with Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma is nothing new, but it does bolster the host.
Look, the inclusion of those two guys, it does bolster their team. Like we said at the start of the series, you got two guys who have a wealth of experience and a wealth of skill, and that can only benefit the team. So I mean, it's not something that we are not aware of. We played against. I mean, I think Rohit played 2007, the T20 World Cup. I was still in school then. So I mean, these guys have been around. So there's nothing new. These are world-class players.
One of India's biggest positives has been the emergence of Harshit Rana. Bowling with lively pace and discipline, Rana claimed 3 wickets in Ranchi, including 2 early strikes that put the Proteas on the back foot. He has now shown that not only he can be effective in hitting the pitch hard with the old ball, but also with the new ball. South Africa, meanwhile, will look to tighten up on the areas that caused them in the first match. With a deep batting lineup and Babuma's return to leadership, they will aim to replicate the strong performance that saw them excel in the recent Test series and translate that momentum into the white ball format. Sports Desk, DD India.
And staying with cricket, West Indies produced a fine display of disciplined fast bowling to leave New Zealand clinging on at 231 for 9 when bad light brought an early end to play on the opening day of the first test at Christchurch on Tuesday. Put into bat first by West Indies captain Roston Chase in overcast conditions and a green pitch, West Indies were rewarded by a sheer showcase of perfect test cricket bowling, reducing the hosts to 120 for 5 in 41 overs. Kane Williamson scored 52 at the top of the order, while Michael Bracefeld's 47 in the lower order helped Black Caps cross the 200 mark. The trio of Kemar Roach, Justin Greaves and debutant Ojai Shields picked 2 wickets each. Former England cricketer Robin Smith, nicknamed the Judge, has died at the age of 62 in Australia. Born in South Africa, Smith represented England in 62 tests between 1988 and 1996, scoring more than 4,000 runs at an average of 43.67 alongside 2,419 ODI runs. Renowned for his fearless batting against fast bowlers, he was a Hampshire legend and one of England's most charismatic players. Tributes poured in from Hampshire and the ECB, recalling his courage, power and unforgettable innings, including his iconic 167 not out against Australia at Edgbaston in 1993. Australia opener Usman Khawaja has been ruled out of the second Ashes test against England in Brisbane because of a back problem. Khawaja was unable to open either innings in the series opener in Perth because of back spasms and showed some discomfort on Monday in the nets at Brisbane's Gabba ground, where the second test starts on Thursday. The 38-year-old will not be replaced in the squad, raising the likelihood that Travis Head will stay at the top of the order, especially after his brilliant innings of 123 as a makeshift opener in Perth that drove Australia to an 8-wicket win. And that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour. You can get the latest news on the DD India mobile app, which is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You may wish to scan the QR code that's now on the screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Newshour.